I think it's my dog upstairs. What the hell?
All right, everybody, and we are starting the show with a laugh. What is going on, everybody? It's your boy PTK Blam back in the building with another episode of the Shop Podcast. How is everybody feeling today, man? This is episode 150 coming to you guys live. We appreciate the support. You guys showing up every single freaking week. Thank you so much, and I have some very special guests with me here today. Besides my usual compadres, I do have two other gentlemen who have been on the show before, but these two gentlemen are very special in their own right. I will let them talk, but I want to start here first. Want to start with you, Tim, because the reason I reached out and got Tim, if you guys don't know, go back to the very first podcast I've ever done on the show, and he was the guest on the show. So I had to reach out, get him on the show. Very important to me, as well as Ainsley, but we'll get to both of you guys. So we're going to start with you, Tim. Say what up to everybody. How you been? What's going on with you, man? And where can everybody find you at?
Yeah, man. Happy to be here. 150. Remember doing the first show with you. It was a great show. Like you say, go back and check that out. There's a surprise in that show, too.
Yeah.
I'm not going to tell you, but go listen to that show. Very happy to be here. Just been, same old. The grind going on, waiting for E3, waiting to, get to E3 so we can travel over there and just waiting for the games and stuff like that. Other than that, you can find me on Twitter, xCloud Timdog. You can search it in the thing. I have the chip is my avatar, the Xbox chip. And I'm also Sunday nights. I'm on TXR at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And Tuesdays, I am on RDX at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. But I'm really happy to be here, man. And congratulations.
Thank you so much. It's been an amazing ride. Once again, guys, this gentleman is extremely special to me personally. In my family, he's one of the guys who always believed in what I did here before we started the podcast. Knew Tim well before that. So I appreciate you being on here. And next, we have our guest of honor as well, Mr. Ainsley. So this guy I met him just randomly looking around on Twitter, but ever since I met him, I appreciate everything he does. If you want to go to a place that has credible information, somebody that knows what they're talking about, people that you can rely on, that you're going to get the facts from, go check out seasongaming.com. This man is the founder of that website. So show him some love, but we appreciate you, Ainsley. Let us know what's going on with you, where everybody can find you at, brother.
Yeah, thanks, man. Glad to be here tonight. It's going to be a lot of fun. Good cast. Congratulations on the 150, man. That's special. We've got our 100th episode coming up, so I know the type of the work and time it takes, to you put into these things. So congrats. No, yeah, I don't really hide. So Ainsley Bowden, my name's out there. I go by Porsche Power pretty much everywhere. That's my call tag. And as you said, Season Gaming, a lot of work lately, man. Just trying to grow the site, getting some new writers in, and looking forward to PAX and E3. And there's a lot coming down the line. The console launch years are always special. So super excited. Can't wait to be at E3 again. And it's going to be a fun year, man.
Oh, yeah, definitely. And once again, man, appreciate you taking a little bit of time out of your weekend to hang out with us here. Once again, man, doors is always open. And he has been on the show before, so you guys can go check back in the archives. You dig around, you'll find the show. Fairly recently, I say probably within the last 6 or 7 months or so fairly recently. But let's go ahead and keep it moving. So on to my compadres here, the usual suspects on the show. Go ahead and give yourself a shout out. Fuzzy Belvedere, Mr. Barry Ross, as we call you here on the Shop Podcast. But yeah, what's going on with you, Fuzz? How you been?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Just looking forward to these coming months before E3, but been grinding on Forza Horizon 4 and some Division, and playing some Game Pass games like Wolfenstein, Youngbloods, and stuff like that. But yeah, you can usually find me on Twitter. I haven't been as active more as of recent, but yeah, just cracking up at all these leaks and misinformation going around. But I'm pretty sure we'll get into that in more detail.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. So yeah, we definitely gonna dive into that today. We're gonna head first for sure. So last but not least, Mr. Centurion, what's up with you, brother? How you been?
Oh, not bad, man. It's been a great week. Played some games. Went to WWE SmackDown. Almost ran in headfirst into Bill Goldberg coming out of the bathroom. That's always a fun experience. And also just looking forward to this show, man. I really appreciate you letting me be a part of the Shop podcast. Congratulations on the 150.
Thank you.
I'm pretty sure anybody who listens knows that you were my first ever podcast, and it's great that I'm still here and able to help you celebrate this moment. So thank you for letting me be a part of it.
No problem, man. Anytime. We family, man. We all family here, and that's how we look at things on the Shop Podcast. So once again, hit the like button, guys, on the way in. Appreciate the love and support. This is to another 150 of these shows, man. We greatly appreciate you guys every single week. So let's dive in. So we're going to start with the poll of the week like we do every single week. And if you don't know what that is, every single Monday I put up a poll of the week, and we talk about it here on the Shop Podcast on Saturday. Sorry. Now, this poll of the week essentially was kind of a two-part situation, really, because I was really asking to kind of get a general idea and get some feedback from you guys about, things on the podcast, things that you guys would like to see. So let me go ahead and pull it up here real quick. I do apologize, my unprepared ass. Let me get this pulled up real quick here, and then we'll get to it here. Jesus. Oh, here we go. So, what is the most important aspect of a gaming podcast that you look for, and why? So, there were some good options. Obviously, the option at one was topics. Personality was second. Guests and other were tied. So we had some cool options there. I do want to start with my two guests here. Knowing both of these gentlemen are on podcasts, a couple times a week. We'll start with you, actually, Tim. What to you out of those options is the most important for you when you're viewing a podcast or when you're looking for one? And just kind of let everybody know which of those options is most important for you.
Well, I think the poll indicates kind of the way I feel. Topics and personality go hand in hand, but sometimes you don't have topics. So I'm going to say the number one thing is really the personality and knowledgeability of the podcaster would be number one, because if you don't have the topics, and we've been there, and you have a weekly show, you're pretty much dead in the water. But when you get both, you get the topics and the personality. That's when the podcasts really shine. You get to be really entertained. But I would say I kind of agree with the poll, but personality is the number one thing for me.
Okay. And the funny thing about that, too, is I agree 100%. I think personality carries you far longer than topics. Topics come and go. And believe me, and you guys are content creators. Most of us are here on the show, content creators. We don't have topics every week to talk about. Like there are some weeks where we really, and I know you laughing over there, Ainsley. Don't forget your camera's on; they can see.
That was just 100% true.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So sometimes some of these weeks are dry, and we got to figure things out. So having that personality to help carry you through a show is very important. So we're gonna throw this over to you, Ainsley, especially you being another content creator. Out of those options, which one is the most important for you, and do you think that poll hit it on the head?
Yeah. In fact, I agree almost 100% with what Tim said. For me, I would say, in terms of the personality, it's really about knowledge for me. There's a million podcasts out there that on various topics. If we're talking about gaming, really want people that are going to tell me something, not necessarily that I don't know, but at least they're knowledgeable on the subject they're speaking to. I've listened to tens or hundreds of different gaming podcasts, and there's many out there where people are just trying to put something together, or they're going off of things they've read elsewhere. They really don't know the industry or what they're talking about. That drives me crazy. Yeah. So I would say definitely knowledge, personality top. Yeah, as you guys said, especially running a site where we report on gaming news on a daily basis, there's some weeks where there's just not a hell of a lot to talk about.
Yeah.
So it all comes down to the people, and that's by far number one for me.
Absolutely. I agree 100%. I feel like the rest of us are gonna fall right in line too, because I learned that early as well. Personality is gonna carry you a lot of ways. So anytime anybody asks me about starting a podcast or just being on YouTube, I just tell them, be yourself. Be yourself is the best thing that you can do, because people are gonna like you for who you are, and people will continue to come back and watch you. So we're gonna go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Out of those options, brother, which one of those did you pick and why, man?
I voted personality. Topics also a big one, but personalities is what can carry you through when you don't have necessarily a topic, or it aids in the flow of the show. So if you have personalities that mesh well and, can, I guess, go into detail, or not necessarily even go into detail, but have knowledge about the topics, or just in general knowledge about all the subjects in relation to the podcast that they cover, then yeah, I would say personalities is number one in that case.
Okay. Now I want to throw a curveball at you guys. So have you guys ever watched a show where somebody's extremely knowledgeable but it's just boring as hell?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. So, some of my own.
Ah,
I was going to say, wait a minute. Does somebody mention me?
yeah, no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I feel you though. So once again, guys, the best advice we can give you here today. This is free. I'm not charging you guys any for this. Anybody, I promise. You won't get a bill from me later. But be yourself is the best thing I can tell you if you're deciding on doing a podcast and or a YouTube channel. That's the best advice anybody can give you from PewDiePie on down. Be yourself. Be yourself. So let's go ahead and throw this over to Wait, was that? Oh, Centurion. Let's go ahead and make sure you get in here, Centurion, as well, brother. What option did you pick and why, man?
Well, personality doesn't matter what the topic is, because if you've got the personality and the knowledge, you can make any topic shine. I've met people that could read out of a phone book, and they've got the personality to actually make it entertaining. Dude, like, I'm going to throw some names out there. When I first started listening to podcasting years ago, two people that came to mind that had awesome personality that really made me want to listen to what they were talking about were Dealer Gaming and Southbound.
Nice. Shout out
Like,
to both.
I mean, they would make me, if you can make me crack up and have a good time just listening to you. I'm not even part of the conversation, but I am having a great time listening to you. That means the world to me when it comes to listening to a podcast.
Nice. So that falls right in line. Like I said, everybody in the chat, that falls right in line with what we've been saying here. So that was a nice warm-up topic just to get everybody going, just to get our feet wet, essentially. So let's go ahead and dive into the nitty-gritty, the BS, okay, in these Twitter streets. Let's talk about this. So I made a video earlier in the week. Essentially, if you didn't see it, go back and see it. I'll make sure I put the link in the description below so you guys can check it out. Discussing Sony's odd 2020. I'd say 2020. It's really been like an odd 18 months for Sony. Let's be honest about it. Not saying it's been a bad 18 months for Sony. I said a odd. So let's not read between the lines here. Make sure we get this correct. So I do want to talk about those things in particular, from Sony missing events left and right, from health issues. Obviously, we're not going to dive too much into that because none of us here work for CNN, I promise. As well as just some of the other things that they've done that have been very un-Sony-like, to end the generation. So I want to start with you as well, Tim. I know this is something that you talk about just about every single day on Twitter. I see it all the time. People argue with you, go back and forth. So what is going on with Sony? And I don't want to paint that in a negative standpoint. This is very un-Sony like these last 18 months. So where do you think this projects Sony going forward, where we're at right now and what they've been doing?
Well, I think the turnover when Layden, if you go back 18 months, you look at the trajectory, and at that 18 months, let's just go 18 months, they were on top of the world. Okay, nobody could beat them, and they were getting accolades after accolades. They were bringing out games. I think what happened after that was there might have been some in-house politicking and issues, and I think that from that time on to when Jim Ryan took over for Layden, and Layden was, basically pushed out, or looks like he was pushed out, and you had multiple guys leaving, restructuring. They got to a point where, they basically were just going through, what a lot of companies do. So I think that was a little tough on them and kind of took a little away of their focus. I also believe that they're in such a strong lead that they didn't have the pressure that they usually had, or they were pretty much pedal to the metal up until those 18 months. But at the end of that, which signifying at the end of the generation, I feel like they kind of were working on themselves. I think that they got that straightened out. Now, personally, I think what they're in right now is in a hold pattern, and that's not me just saying that. That's from people that I've talked to that are very knowledgeable. They are looking to see what Microsoft price is at, or they're trying to get a kind of a something so that they can accordingly plan for. Because I think that the two SKU approach, the flanking approach, has gotten them a little bit on their heels. And I think that that's what you have right now. And this is it's honestly, and Microsoft knows that, I think. And so right now you have a kind of a cat and mouse, corporation cat and mouse game, or a game of see who blinks first. And I think that's where they're at. And quite frankly, they know they have the software coming to the end of the generation with Ghost of Tsushima's and The Last of Us 2. So you look at that. So I just think that they're waiting for that, and they're waiting for Microsoft to basically push, and I think that that's when you will see something from them on next gen. But if you look back and compare this generation or this end of the generation to last generation, to the end of that generation, they were fire blazing.
They had to.
So I think
because they got off to a bad start.
right. So I think just through attrition or the way, or if that's the right word, but just through the way things go, Microsoft now is kind of being bold, and they're kind of they're waiting to counterpunch, or they're waiting to see their opening, and that's where I think that they stand. And I do think that this is gonna. I don't think this is going to be like. I think it's going to take a while. I think that you might see Microsoft go first with their reveal, or Microsoft will say screw it and just say let's just have a big E3.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how it's all going to play out, but it's definitely curious. Doesn't mean the world is ending. Doesn't mean they're going out of business, like you said. It's just more of a couple of events that just went on, like the restructuring and now the next gen pricing and the reports that the pricing's gotten high. I do believe that Microsoft has them beat in the power. And I think that they both know that. I just think that Sony knows that they can't price, or they shouldn't price at the same price. So I think that's what's going on right now.
All right, that's a great breakdown, and I agree with a lot of those things you said. And I'm gonna throw you a secondary question here, not right now, but I'm gonna let everybody else go. I'm gonna throw you another question to kind of piggyback off of that, Tim. So great analysis. So we're gonna throw that over to you, Ainsley. See what your opinion is on this. And once again, let's be clear here now, chat. We're not necessarily saying that this is a bad direction for Sony. Essentially, we're saying they're doing very un-Sony-like things, especially due to the fact that they've had a healthy lead this generation as far as consoles sold, the mind share, market share, however you want to project it or calculate it out. They've had the lead for the most part. So I've always been of the mind that they don't necessarily need to rush to do anything or need to be reactionary to what Nintendo and Xbox does. But it's very, very odd, some of the things that they've done. So we're going to throw this over to you, Ainsley. What is your opinion on that, and what does that mean for Sony going forward?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of aspects here. I think Tim touched on some of them. The restructuring was one, but I said a couple weeks ago, it's kind of weird, right? Because they've been in such a dominant position this generation that I think all of us are kind of questioning this because it feels odd for Sony to feel like they're being timid.
Yeah.
When they've been nothing but aggressive for a while now. Which is interesting, and it leads to speculation because they're less vocal about what's going on internally than Microsoft is. But Microsoft kind of has everything out in the forefront. You kind of know, their executives speak more to their fans, and they're just more open with what's happening. Sony's very guarded. And so that leads to speculation, but I think the restructuring is an important one that Tim called out. It's very strange to see someone as celebrated as Sean Layden and as respected across the industry as Sean Layden just be pushed out's probably the right term. I mean, we don't have all the details there, but something definitely happened.
Yeah.
An internal power struggle, most likely. And Jim Ryan to me at least, is a weird choice to be put in charge of everything PlayStation.
Isn't he a numbers guy? Isn't he more of a numbers guy, or no?
He was more of a behind the scenes, but he wasn't, as far as I'm aware, he wasn't incredibly well respected in Europe, which is where he led, the PlayStation organization. And so it just seems strange to me to put him in charge of world, CEO essentially of PlayStation. Because I just don't see it from him. He's not the same type of person Layden is. Now, good or bad, I could be wrong, but it just seems strange. I think what you have here is PlayStation's been so dominant this generation, and they do continue to have a few advantages just because of their foundation. They have a very strong global infrastructure, and not infrastructure, a global infrastructure in terms of marketing, brand. Exactly. Being able to produce and sell consoles globally in markets that Xbox and other brands cannot. They have that dedicated hardcore fan base that's very broad. But when you look at the long-term plans, and this is where I've talked a lot about, is where the pieces for Xbox have been coming together for years now. This is a long-term game for Xbox. Whereas I don't think PlayStation is as well aligned. They're going to lean on their games, their first-party studios. They're going to lean on that global infrastructure. But when you look at where the technology's headed, they're definitely not in a very good place. They don't have global infrastructure on the technology side. They don't have a cloud presence. They don't have a lot of things that really are where gaming is going.
Yeah.
Which again gets back to that conversation of Sony CEO, not PlayStation CEO, Yoshida signing the deal to use Azure in the future, which we're yet to see the full details on. But it is a weird place to see Sony right now going into next gen. You kind of mentioned they're very strong at the tail end of the generation. I would say arguably their biggest exclusive, Last of Us 2, is it's gonna drop a bomb on the industry when that releases. Ghost of Tsushima has already got a ton of hype behind it.
Yep.
And so they're ending super strong, but where does that leave the launch of the PS5? I talked on Bitcast a little while ago around, the Sony Santa Monica's got God of War 2 in the works. I mean, that's inevitable, right?
Yeah.
But that's going to be years out. You've got Guerrilla with Horizon Zero Dawn. There's no way in hell a sequel to that is ready in launch window. You've got potentially Gran Turismo coming back, but that's not going to be anything shocking. My point being is that their major AAA first-party studios are in a place where they're either not ready to release their next games, or their big games are just about to release, like Naughty Dog and Sucker Punch with Ghost of Tsushima. So that leaves this gap where they're going to have to rely on third parties. As Tim mentioned, it sounds like their hardware is not going to be as powerful, and they're being flanked by this dual approach that Xbox is bringing. And the services they can offer to counter Game Pass and xCloud aren't there either.
Yeah.
Because PS Now is not, it's getting better and they're making improvements, but it's not at a place where it can fully compete one-to-one with what Game Pass is offering. And so that leaves Sony in a really strange place. So they're going to have to lean heavily on that fan base and the global market at the launch of PS5. As you guys already said, I don't think they're in trouble.
Yeah.
It's just it's not a position of dominance going into 2021 like I think they had at the start of this generation.
And I agree. There's a lot of things, a lot of substance of what you said. And the one thing I do want to highlight, Ainsley, that you brought up is that I don't worry necessarily about the first-party games because this is traditional for Sony. We didn't get a God of War till 3 years in, 4 years in. We didn't even start hearing about a God of War. Same thing with Horizon. They had some games. The Killzone came out in 2013, wasn't very good. Had some knack, wasn't very good. So this is how they do. Yeah, their launch games weren't. I mean, it wasn't really what Sony is known for at the end of this generation. They kind of warm up and then they get going. Then the first parties kind of take off, and that kind of ignites them for the rest of the generation. So I don't necessarily worry about the games, but I do agree with you that they're in a very, very odd position. And to be as quiet as they've been, no shows, no events, no state of plays or anything, is very, very strange. So it does have us all kind of scratching our heads. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. Get your opinion on what's going forward. We've talked about this in great length on the last probably 2 or 3 episodes here on the Shop Podcast. So what do you think going forward? What does this all mean?
I think it's going to be, like Tim has said and like Ainsley has said, they're going to rely on third party. I mean, we're going to probably see maybe a Resogun 2 or a Knack 3, but for the most part, when everything is said and done, I think the biggest drawback is the fans aren't really going to have, I guess, anything to rally to just yet. I know there was rumors that there was going to be some sort of unveiling in February. It doesn't look like that's going to happen. A March one is even more questionable now. They're pulling out of some of the shows that are coming up, but global issues that we're having right now with this coronavirus going around, I can understand it. But with them already saying that they're not going to be at E3, it only leaves but like a small window between them playing this waiting game to see what Microsoft does with pricing and so forth, and the unveiling of their console. So it's very un-Sony-like, comparably, like PS3 generation, going into PS4, they were, full steam ahead type of thing. Now it just seems like they're playing the crouching tiger, ready to pounce thing, which, they talked about it like 2 years ago, but it's like now I think even their fans are getting a little exhausted with this waiting game to the point where they're relying on things like 4chan for leaks and stuff. Not to knock all of the leaks from 4chan, but just some of them are just way left field type of deal. But I think the big thing is with Last of Us 2 in the release window, not too far from now, that's going to be the energy that they're going to probably,
use to
open the floodgates as far as them being in a news cycle in a positive way. at least until they get closer to when they want to announce stuff for the PS5.
Yeah.
Like they'll probably focus on load times and things like that, since they don't necessarily have the power advantage, and the price advantage looks like it may be minimal unless they take a bit of a cut. But yeah, it just
It's a and it's it. You know the funny thing, but I'm gonna let you finish here. It almost
yeah
feels self-inflicted. It feels
yeah
like this has nothing to do with what Microsoft and Xbox and Nintendo is doing. It almost feels like it's almost intentional in a way. Just the no conversation, no shows. I mean, I think they just recently came out and said that they will be at TGS, but I don't know if that's like, are you doing an announcement then? Are you doing a show
mhm.
then? Are you going full Nintendo Direct style? Like, what is it? What's going on here? So I think, like you said, and like Ainsley brought up as well, the timing of everything, like, just leaves them with very little time in between these events. So go ahead and
Yeah.
finish, Fuzz. I just wanted to highlight that.
Well, and
No, no.
TGS isn't even till September,
Yeah.
so
So I
that's way
mean,
out there.
yeah, it's very late in the year, third quarter, fourth quarter. So yeah, go
Well,
ahead,
they'll
Fuzz.
they'll do a state of play or something that, and hopefully it'll be enough info in that 30-minute, 45-minute unveiling type of deal. But I mean, as a person that's going to buy both consoles, I would like to hear something before March. I mean, I don't know. It just seems weird to me. I mean, I at least want to hear that. Oh yeah, Gran Turismo, a full version, not this sport crap, is going to be in the
Yeah,
works or something along those lines. But
yeah,
I yeah, I don't know. I'm right now. I'm more focused on Xbox Series X stuff and
yeah.
maybe some info on the Series S, so I can figure out if I'm going to get those for the kids or just stick with building them a PC type of thing
Okay,
and getting them into that realm. But
cool.
yeah, very un-Sony like, very un-Sony like
All right, so we're
right
gonna
now.
wrap this up with you, Centurion. Get your opinion on what's going on with Sony going forward. How do you feel about what they're doing, man? We talked about this. I know we have the last 2 or 3 shows, but just to kind of put a ribbon on it.
Right. Well, I just want to start off by saying the devil's advocate thing because I saw some of the stuff in chat.
Uh huh.
Sony is not the only company that is pulling out of events due to the situation over there in Asia.
True. That is true.
Verizon,
True.
Google, Amazon, a number of big companies have pulled out of events all over as a result of this. It's regretful that they're not coming to E3, which I think is a mistake for them, but hey, it's their own initiative. Now on to exactly with Sony. The only way I can think of describing this in my head is by just saying that Sony in itself, at least the way it looks, is because whenever Microsoft does something, they always have to tweet out something. They're a very reactive company. They react to a lot of things, like when The Last of Us 2 is going to come out. Obviously, there's going to be a mass amount of hype from that game, and they're
Oh
going to
yeah.
react to that and ride that wave. And that's a lot of kind of like how you can describe this generation. That's Sony's big problem, I think, is at the beginning of this generation, Microsoft made some major missteps that Sony was able to basically get out ahead on. The whole DRM thing, the price of the console, the power narrative. And now Sony's in a situation where Microsoft is under a different leadership. They're not doing the crazy things that they were at the beginning of this generation by trying to create an entertainment box outside of a gaming console. Um, they're leaving Sony very little to react to. Sony is trying to figure out what the next move is going to be. And Microsoft hasn't really, in my opinion, anyways, made any real mistakes that they could come out
That's a
and,
good point.
hand a game to somebody or talk about a power narrative. Microsoft has not given them the ammunition that they're probably looking for to kind of create that next wave that they can ride to success. And that's where I'm standing on the whole situation, that Sony's really wanting Microsoft to slip up again so that way they have something to make themselves
So
shine again.
so I'm gonna play devil's advocate to your devil's advocate. So I understand you saying that, but I just don't think Sony needs to be that. I just don't think they're that reactionary. Now, Tim, I want you to chime on this as well because this is kind of what I was what I was saying I was going to bring up. So I don't think Sony needs to be, and/or they are that reactionary. So would you agree with that, Tim? Do you think any of this is just a reaction to the lack of information or ammunition that Xbox has provided? Would you agree with that?
Like, I agree with you. I think that they're in a position that they can just the next bit of good news or whatever they announce that the fans will rally against it or rally with it and they'll go crazy. And I think they'll be back in good position. I think for it to really start to make a uh, you know um, start to take hits or whatever, it would have to be like the 12-9 narrative, 12 teraflops 9, but they're the same price, like
Yeah,
that type of stuff. So once that really is all, out there, I think that that's when, it become a problem for them. But right now, they're so strong and they've built up so much goodwill that, they're just probably, you can even say they're playing it smart. They're just not, they're in a wait mode, they're in a pause mode. And like Centurion said, he's right. Xbox hasn't messed up, but
Well,
there's a part of me that worries that in this game that they're playing that they can mess up. They can make a misstep.
same with Sony. Sony can mess up.
Yes, you're right. You're
They've
right.
completely restructured their company. Jim Ryan could come out tomorrow and say something that completely alienates the fans.
Yeah, you're
He
right.
plays old games.
And believe me, when we get closer, there's going to be moments like them. I mean, there's going to be comments and stuff like that could go away. I believe that Xbox is really a great brand, and I think it's
Oh
something
no,
that
Xbox is a
people. Yeah, but my point is, I think people would willingly come back that left. But I think a lot of people left because it was a joke for a while, or it
yeah,
was a running joke, and
yeah.
and and a lot of casuals just flanked for that. But if they can get some narratives working their way, and they can get things going their way, like you said, and maybe some colossal mess ups by Mr. Ryan and saying something really stupid, which we always seem to get every generation, whether it was Don
Don Matty.
Matrick, or what was the one? Get two jobs for the PS3.
Yeah,
If you
6
can't
Oh,
afford,
Yeah,
Yep.
600 US
so
dollars.
That's
yeah,
what I'm just getting at. At the beginning of this generation, like I love Xbox. I want people to understand that. I love Xbox, but I didn't buy the Connect edition Xbox because I didn't want a Connect and it had nothing to do with the camera. It was just a feature I wasn't interested in. But for me, I just look at it like I feel like at the beginning of this generation, Xbox was so far off the mark on the consumer base that there wasn't any real competition for PlayStation. And as the years went by, it just got worse and worse. And now Microsoft is at a point where they're not competing with PlayStation. In my opinion, Xbox is sitting back waiting for next gen because they really want to hit this one out the park because this time they're ready to compete. They got all their ducks in the row. And I am definitely very looking forward to next gen because we're going to see actual true competition between these two companies and us as consumers are going to win because they're going to be doing things to get our attention. And it's going to be something we didn't see this generation,
Yeah.
regretfully.
So no, I agree. I agree with a lot of those points, and a lot of that was brought up. Like I said before, we've talked about this and over and over again, just trying to see what is really really going on and what their mindset is. So we'll see as time goes on. We shall definitely see as the year goes by, as E3 gets closer. These companies are going to start moving around, start being a little bit more active. So it's very very interesting how this generation is going to play out. So let's go ahead and move on to the next topic. So this topic I actually stole from Ed Boon. Shout out to Ed Boon. Shout out to having Spawn in Mortal Kombat. I appreciate that. I saw that announcement today. It's fucking amazing. If you haven't, go check that out. But either way, he actually put out a Twitter poll asking about the most important aspect of just this next generation going forward. Now, I want to start with you on this one, Ainsley. And his poll broke down as one being, what was it? One, price obviously was the most important. Two, back compat. Three, graphics. Four, exclusive games, and that was he had over like 200,000 votes or something crazy like that. So, in that particular order, now I know a lot of us here we're like minded, but would you agree with that order? Is that how it's important, or how is that how you see next gen playing out? Because the one thing I've always said is I don't think this generation, as technology gets better, we're those same narratives as far as power and graphics, the gap is closing on those things. So, what do you think? Would you agree with that poll, and how would it break down for you, Ainsley?
Yeah, I would agree with it, and I think one of the big reasons why is that you have the diehard people like us and others, that small group that's going to buy launch consoles no matter what. But when you start talking about the broader market, mainstream market, you're getting to a place now with the technology and where the generations are kind of blurring, right?
Yeah.
We already know, for instance, that if you have an Xbox One X today, or even a base Xbox One, if for whatever reason you're content and happy with your base Xbox One, you don't have to upgrade when Series X launches. There's nothing outside of graphics, frame rate, etc. Those things, right? The tech of it that forces you to upgrade. We grew up with generations. I think most of us, right, where there were hard lines between those generations.
Yeah, you're right. No more
like if you want to. Yeah, if you want to play Super Mario World, you're buying a Super Nintendo, period, right?
Yeah.
That's not the case anymore. And so it more comes down to accessibility and what the offering is. And so when you get to that vein, I think price becomes more important because you're always going to capture the hardcore. It doesn't matter your price point there. To me, I'm going to buy it no matter what. But for the mainstream market, if you've got a $500 proposition and you say, well, what does this $500 get me? Does it get you, 5 brand new games you can't play anywhere else? No. What's it get you? 60 frames versus 30? To the mainstream market, that's not a big play.
Yeah.
And so I think, I think price overwhelmingly is going to be, when you're talking, again, bigger market, that's going to be the number one thing. Back compat is huge. I think there's a reason that it's been such a boon for the Xbox side this generation. One of the best things they did, in my opinion, and they're obviously driving that hand on the Sony side.
I call that the Nintendo strategy, the back compat, because, one thing that was actually surprising to see back compat as the second choice, because I didn't think that would be. I thought exclusives would be higher on the list than back compat, because a couple years ago that was something that Xbox was doing. Sony said it couldn't be done. A lot of people were saying, hey, that's not even something we're looking at. Like, why would you even use the resources or put energy in the back compat? And we've seen the fruits of that labor, especially for Xbox, how it's been able to carry Game Pass, how it's been able to carry Xbox Live. So very interesting to see back compat be so high.
People got these massive digital libraries
that's
now.
True. Yeah, that's true as well. That's true.
Yeah.
So that's what I was going to bring up. Go ahead, Ainsley.
Yeah, you've had. He's right, Centurion. You've got 7 years now on this generation of mostly digital libraries. It's now the majority, right? So people want to carry this forward. They don't want to start over anymore. I think that's a big play there. It's kind of funny when we're talking about back compat that Jim Ryan famously made the quote for Sony saying, "Who wants to play old games?" And now he's the head of PlayStation. So kind of interesting. But yeah, no. Long story short, I agree with the poll. I know we're going to talk about Nintendo, and I always say that Nintendo is their own animal. You can't use logic to figure out what the hell they're doing or why they're successful. But from Xbox and PlayStation side, price point's going to be huge, and then you get down to services, right? And I think we don't need to get into it right now, but I think that's where Xbox has that extra advantage. They're proving out xCloud now. Game Pass is a boon. Being able to play your games across PC and carry that progress. And I think you're going to get down to what is the total package offering for being an ecosystem versus just what does this hardware give me.
Got it. It's great fucking breakdown. Great breakdown. I almost feel like I paid you to be here with that breakdown. I didn't pay. We're getting this for free, people. This is all free, I promise you. But anyway.
Oh, I'm not getting paid?
No.
What the hell am I
doing here? No, man. I'm going to have some tweets in my DMs today. Holy shit. Now, either way. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Tim. Just get your opinion in general about that poll. Would you agree on the order of those as well? And for you personally?
Well, I think it's pretty funny because I believe that you could put that poll up on different circumstances and you get totally different answers.
True.
I think price is definitely always the number one thing. But when we say that, I don't know how that can hold true. If you're going to say that, and then you have something like Lockhart, and that's 150 or 200 more less than say PlayStation 5. Then everyone would be getting a Lockhart. But I don't think that that's necessarily 100% true. So I believe that those things that you saw are like narratives that that a lot of fanboys use and that a lot of people use to make themselves feel better about their system of preference. But as far as the poll, yeah, I agree with it. But like I said, I think there's a lot more to go through. I think power definitely matters. Power, it matters to the hardcore.
Yeah.
And that's why I think that the hardcore on Sony's side would rather have a pay more and have a same type of powerful machine as Microsoft, um, and vice versa. I think that they want to have that narrative, and I think it breaks down to a lot of narratives these systems are going to come out with. One of them, which I found funny, was exclusive games. Was last exclusive games like 2 years ago was the only reason why we buy systems. I remember, and that was 100%. So it just makes it's funny how they just bounce around, but yeah, it's a whole package. And as Ainsley talked about the services and stuff like that, I agree. Microsoft, they've set themselves up for next generation since like 2017.
Yeah.
They were really doing it because listen, they knew they got their asses kicked. Anybody knew they knew it better. They knew it better than us because they saw the shares that they had in the UK. They saw how they lost the North American #1 market, and how they were pretty much 2-1 getting outsold. They basically had a look at themselves in the mirror, and I think that point came for them, and then they said, "Hey, let's build for this 2020." So in a way, they've been gearing up for this for such a long time that they're really all the ducks are in a row, and they're ready to go. And I think that if they can get certain things to go their way. Like I talked to Rand the other day. Rand. He was on the show. Rand, we love you. But even if Microsoft did say have a 12 teraflop machine, and Sony did have a 9, and they were the same price, I'd still see Sony winning. I think that their as we talked about, their brand awareness globally is just so strong that they really can't lose a generation as far as when you talk about consoles being sold. But I think what Microsoft's done here is they've changed the game a lot. I don't know if you guys played xCloud. I do think that that's going to be a big deal.
Yes.
And I do think that they're going to, they have the packaging. They can package that with Game Pass. They're ahead of the curve. So I kind of feel like Sony's in the catch-up mode, and some of the quietness and the stuff that we talked about is because of that. But this whole generation, it's going into this is going to be very exciting. We're going to have more podcasts. I'm sure I'll be on another one. Where we're going to get some crazy news, and we're going to get something where our Microsoft Xbox guys can latch on to, and then Sony's going to get something where they can latch on to. But overall, I do think that if you compare both generations, last generation to this, they got it right. Both companies got it right. They went balls to the wall technology-wise, and that's huge.
Yeah, and a lot of people don't give credit. Shout out to all three. Nintendo got their shit together too after having a horrible start to the generation with the Wii U. They turned their shit around and were able to do it. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the Switch or anything like that, but all these companies have made adjustments throughout the generation to get on the right foot. And one nugget that I took from something that you said is extremely important, people, when we have a discussion about these particular topics. This is why I invite people like Tim and Ainsley on the show. Factual fucking information. Now, the one thing that people understand about Sony is that factually, they are in twice as many markets as Xbox, point blank, period. So they have more opportunities to sell more consoles as well. People don't. Let me just throw that out there. We're not comparing numbers because we all know what the fuck it looks like. You can Google them. They're not hard to find as public information. But factually, Sony's just in more areas to sell more things, will sell more consoles than Xbox across the world. So that's just how it is until that changes. And that's why xCloud's such a huge thing for Xbox. It's getting in them territories that they don't traditionally sell well in. You already got a cell phone in your pocket. They're not trying to sell you another cell phone. This is a service to add to your cell phone that you already paid for. So, like you said, just forward thinking, being ahead of the curve is huge, and I think that that's done that's put Xbox in a very, very, very reasonable position. So let's throw this over to you, Centurion. As far as what we were talking about already, what do you think going forward, man, out of that particular poll and those options?
Man, when I first saw that poll, I was mind blown when I saw how backwards compatibility was over exclusives. Because at the end of the day, I understand exclusives do kind of help create the identity of a console. At the end of the day, man, multiplats are killing it. We all know that everybody and their grandmother plays Call of Duty and all those crazy multiplats that come out every single year that we all live on. Come on, we're playing the Division 2 all the time. So definitely, I can see why exclusives kind of fell where they did. But like I said, I was mind blown about the backwards compatibility part because, like I said earlier, people have these digital libraries now that they're basically, I hate to use the word stuck with, but yeah, that's your digital library. It's not going anywhere. You can't sell. Well, maybe you could sell it off to somebody if you gave them your credentials and stuff like that. But it's not like back in the day where a generation changed and you pack up everything from the previous generation in a box and you either put it away or you go down to GameStop and sell it off to help you buy into the new generation. People now are wanting to carry those investments forward with them because building, I have a enjoyment out of building my digital library. Just sometimes when you see it, you're like, man, I have 200 games and I need to play a lot of them.
Yeah.
But
it's daunting sometimes. Holy moly.
But price, oh my God, price. The whole price thing has been like, I'll be for real. I'm concerned that the Series X is going to be $600. In my mind, I am bracing for $600 just so that way, if it's less than $600, if it's $450, oh my God, dude, I would be ecstatic. So, but definitely, I could see where price is a big deal because gaming is an expensive hobby in itself. The hardware is expensive. Anytime you need a controller, a headset, a game, that gets expensive, which is another reason behind xCloud and Game Pass is to give people that don't have the ability to sometimes afford this hobby to have an option that they can use to get into the ecosystem and actually partake in all these games with us, have fun, interact with us all in the Xbox community, and not have to shell out a humongous amount of money to at least try it out, see if it's something that they want to be a part of. And it's going to get people to definitely invest. I see when people become part of this, the Xbox family ecosystem here, they're going to have a great time and they're going to go out and invest in consoles because they're going to want that premium experience that comes with having local hardware.
Yeah. And I think I'm gonna go back to Ainsley on this because it's one thing that we can kind of tie this all up together with. One thing that he said was the total package going forward is what I think people are gonna look at. And Xbox has done a fantastic job at being able to provide that total package. So I know Ainsley, you were talking about specific areas in which Sony is not great in. So our online infrastructure, they're not in the cloud space. They don't really do that. They don't really have the kind of accessibility that Xbox has with Live and Game Pass. They don't really have anything to compete with that. The fact that that's something that Xbox can provide in a package, you don't have to go anywhere. You get it all on one console is huge, and I think people are understating that a little bit as well going forward because look at technology in general. These phones do everything. You don't need to have – you got a phone in your pocket, you don't need to carry anything else. You don't even need a wallet half the time. So people like having, everything in one space. It's just what technology, I think that's where it's going essentially. So I agree with that, and I wanted to highlight that, Ainsley, because it's pretty prominent as far as having this discussion about back combating on how these things are important to people. I think that on top of whatever, everything else Xbox is able to provide puts them in a advantageous position going forward.
Yeah. So. And you guys touched on it, right? So if you picture the worldwide scenario, you guys already mentioned that PlayStation is in a much broader market space worldwide than Xbox is. That's just a fact.
Yeah.
But, we're talking about xCloud, and you've got a future here where Series X or Lockhart, and obviously we don't know all the details on Lockhart yet, but regardless, in the markets like here in North America, You're going to have those console sales. Xbox is a strong brand, etc. But when you can offer a package, and we don't know what the xCloud pricing looks like, right? But there's a reason that they're ramping up games and testing on this. They're expanding the infrastructure in their cloud servers. It's eventually going to be on Series X hardware, and there's a lot of plays for that with AMD as well. But you get to a place where you can say, okay, you can have Lockhart at X price. You can have Series X, which is the most powerful piece of hardware at X price. But when you invest in that ecosystem, they can give you 3 months, 6 months, a year, what have you, of, say, Xbox Game Pass Ultimate with that. And immediately on day one, you have access to all your launch titles, Halo Infinite, Forza 8, whatever else is coming. You've got another 250 games. You've got your Xbox Live Gold, and you've got your xCloud capability all in one without any further investment.
Yeah.
And I think that is just a tremendously strong play on their part that just Sony can't truly match. They can match it in pieces, but not truly match. And to your point about phones, we talked about South Korea doing the beta for xCloud, and they were playing twice as much as people in North America. And that's because the Asian markets like South Korea, like China, and those broader markets, they're mobile gamers, period. They don't play consoles. The reason the Switch is sold is because it's a mobile platform for them. It's a 3DS replacement. So you can get people into those ecosystems that have never owned Xboxes before globally without having to move your distribution from a hardware perspective into those markets. And it's just an incredibly strong global play.
Yeah, and I think, once again, a $100 breakdown. He's not getting paid for this, people. It's just coming out of his head. I'm just trying to tell you. You don't got to pay for this information. But either way, I swear to God. But either way, great breakdown, and I definitely agree with that. We're going to get to you, Fuzz, so we can get your opinion on this. And, how does that poll break down? And, was anything surprising to you about that poll?
With it being the masses, I figured exclusives would rank a little bit higher than it did. But as an enthusiast, I would say we probably lean more to like better graphics or power and things along those lines, just as far as the games we're looking to play. But when you have the masses out there, the casual gamers, price is going to be the bottom line determiner as far as what they're looking at as far as a console. I would like to have seen, well, I guess you can only do like 4 things on the Twitter poll, but another thing that is kind of ignored is that where all of your friends are playing. So if your friends are already on like one particular platform, they're going to want to be on that same platform. Now, luckily, we're getting into this cross-play, cross-progression type of space now when it comes to gaming. So it may not matter as much that your friends are on PlayStation or your friends are on Xbox. It's just as long as you play that buy that multi-plat for whatever you have, you'll be more than likely able to play with or against them in whatever game you choose, as long as it's like a multi-plat type of deal. But price totally makes sense. A bit surprised with the back compat, but I would have to say from going from this current generation to the next generation, since I didn't buy a PS4 Pro, I just had my launch PS4. Mm-hmm. Having that be back compat for all the PS4 games is going to be a big plus in my, at least for me, because looking at like Gran Turismo Sport on the launch PS4 versus what I've seen screen caps of the PS4 Pro, having the PS5 will be my replacement for not getting the PS4 Pro. But I was a bit surprised on last gen games because the head of Sony would say, like, who likes to play old games? With Jim Ryan. It's a bit of a surprise, but overall, exclusives, the thing that everybody used to beat their chests about. Oh yeah, why else would you buy a console? That's exactly why you buy that particular brand, and it finishes at the bottom.
Yeah.
But I'm never surprised by like casual gamers or most gamers out there, because us as enthusiasts, we're like a small percentage of that. They're not as much into the exclusive games unless it's like if Madden became exclusive, then it'd be a different story. If 2K became exclusive,
which, dear God,
like those are the things that most of the masses are looking at, whether it be sports games or Call of Duty things along those lines. That's what they're into. So yeah, good poll. Just man, we'll see how the narratives change when the next generation launches.
And that's going to be interesting to see how that plays out going forward. Now, obviously, there's millions of gamers out there, so that's a small little piece, but it's an interesting kind of a peek into what people are thinking about going forward. So let's go ahead and wrap the podcast up on the last topic. It's been a great show so far. Make sure you guys are hitting that like button. It does help the show be seen. Appreciate all you guys here watching live. Everybody that's just watching, not in the chat, appreciate you guys as well. Make sure you share that link. Let's pack this thing out and give a good show. So last thing here, this is, and I saw this about 2-3 days ago, and it kind of surprised me because I didn't really have an idea. Now, this is specifically about CD Projekt Red and how they are now the second largest dev in Europe, only behind Ubisoft, which is extremely surprising. That they literally made one game this entire generation, and they've turned into Rockstar. At this, within one generation, they've turned into Rockstar games. So it's interesting to see. Now, that's not the question in totality. The full question essentially is, what does this mean for Cyberpunk as well as CD Projekt Red? We've essentially, they're an independent studio, by the way. They're not owned by anybody. So let's go ahead and throw that information out there. So we're going to start with you on this one, Tim, again. Just what do you think about that information, CD Projekt Red? What is this bode for Cyberpunk, seeing that they've literally become the second largest game developer in Europe based off one game, the entire generation? So what do you think that means for Cyberpunk?
I think that that's amazing. I heard the a quote of 8 billion.
8 billion, crazy,
8 billion.
crazy.
I mean, to put that in perspective, Minecraft was sold 3 years ago for 2 billion. So that's 4 times the amount of Minecraft, and we know how big Minecraft is, but. Yeah, I think it's just it's a testament to how good they are. I think if you look at developers and you look at people like Rockstar and themselves and you look at CD Projekt Red, those are top developers, and it's pretty. To me, it's crazy, but maybe it's just The Witcher itself. I know they have a new TV series that was really a big hit. Mm-hmm. But all the world to them. I couldn't believe that. I couldn't wrap my head around 8 billion. And I heard that there was a time where they would have taken, a bid like that, or they were, considering it. Heard through the grapevine, but maybe that's the reason why. I mean, if you look at it, like you said, it's only one game.
One game,
and they're 8 billion.
Yeah.
Now, what if they come out with a game, Witcher 4, and it doesn't do as well, or it does what it starts to trajectory go down?
Yeah,
that's kind of a risk. So to me, that's why it kind of made sense to me why you heard those rumors. I mean, because if somebody would buy them for $8 billion, I mean, you kind of would look at that and say, if you're them, they'd be like, okay, it's $8 billion. So, I think in a way it's tremendous and it's awesome and kudos. But there's a little bit of risk there. I think that they have to broaden themselves a little more, and maybe sustain the Witcher hype, because the game was big. But like you said, the amount of money for the company is kind of mind blowing. So the two things that I took from it was that I did hear the rumors of being on sale, and I heard it was an astronomical price. But you know what? If I'm Microsoft or Sony, if you get them, wow! I mean, it'd be huge. But I don't know if you pay $8 billion. Think about that.
That's a bit of a stretch. Even Microsoft could do it. I'm sure.
That's a lot, right?
That's a lot.
Are you saying 8 billion or 8 million?
Billion,
$8
billion.
Okay.
That's their
I was about
market
to.
value.
I was making sure because I could have swore I heard 8 million. I'm like 8 million is astronomical.
This is definitely not Austin Powers, so we're not doing it. We're talking bees here, not him.
Do you think? Do you think the? I have a question to shoot back to you. Do you think that because of the show that they've like, where do you think that they've gotten that sustainability, or that they've gotten to that level? I mean, it's just crazy to me.
No, I don't. I'm sure since you're on, you probably have the numbers. I'm sure Ainsley, you guys can pull them up. I don't know how much Witcher sold. I'm not entirely sure how, but I know it sold extremely well on every platform it was on, every single one. And then the DLC sold extremely well. Then it had a huge spike recently when the show came out again. So I don't know what the lifetime sales are at as far as Witcher. I don't know. And another thing, they are backed by the Polish government as well. They got a huge grant from the Polish government.
Right.
So
Right.
I don't know I don't know if that was to make the game, but they do have the support of their country and their country's government to be a developer as well. Now I don't know I don't know if they may be the only dev company that gets support from the actual country that it's in. I don't know of any other company getting a grant from the actual country itself to make a game.
Right.
So I don't know how that all plays in. I'll have to do some more research.
All right. Here it is. So
there you go. See,
20 million units worldwide since its launch. But now they're saying this is before the Witcher television show, and the Witcher television show caused them to have a 554% higher gain in sales on that game.
Sheesh. So okay, now this is a question, and I'm gonna we're gonna go over to you, Ainsley, here in a second. But I want all you guys to answer this question individually as well. Are they the new Rockstar? Now don't answer it now. Just let that marinate, let it sit, okay? Because understand the question I'm asking. GTA is by far it's by far the biggest game, point blank period, multiplayer or not, that's out. That's probably come out the last 10, 20 years or so. So let's go ahead and get over to you, Ainsley, about the original question, just about CD Projekt Red, their size, and what this means for Cyberpunk. A game of that caliber, and what we can expect because of the size of the company and the resources that they have.
Yeah. So it looks like I wore the right shirt today.
I was actually eyeballing that shirt. I was like, man, you got Cyberpunk swag.
I wasn't even planned, I swear.
You just contributed to that $8 billion, by the way, by wearing it.
Yeah, I did. No, I have. Trust me, this game room, I probably paid for half of that already. Yeah, so the funny thing, right, is you got to remember that this it's a market of valuation. So if they're talking about being sold or bought, you wouldn't really be sold for $8 billion, but it's an estimation, right? But the scary thing is that Cyberpunk hasn't released, and that Cyberpunk, by all accounts, is going to be just a mega blockbuster. Yeah. I saw the closed door demo of it at E3 last year, and these guys are special. They're just a special development studio. And they know what they're doing. Witcher 3, I contend, is the greatest game of all time, purely from a critical perspective. Mm-hmm. It's the highest rated game of all time. The sales of it, as Centurion just noted, are massive. In fact, they announced back in June, so you're talking about 6 months ago, that they had crossed 40 million units sold across Witcher 1, 2, and 3. Now, keep in mind, Witcher 1 sold next to nothing, so most of that is, Witcher 3. But, yeah, I think that they really are special, and if Cyberpunk lands as we all think it's going to land, and remember, this is cross-platform, PC, PS4, Xbox, they're talking about potentially trying to squeeze it onto the Switch next year, and it sells tens of millions of copies. I think, very well they should be considered. They already are considered, but they'll be one of the very top tier developers in the whole industry. Yeah. The interesting thing about them, though, is Rockstar is legendary. Rockstar is so big and so important, and Grand Theft Auto is so strong that they do what they want. They don't go to E3. They do whatever they want. They know that they don't need a game show. They don't need Xbox. They don't need PlayStation. They don't need anything from anyone. When they say Grand Theft Auto 6 is coming, the world will stop. And I think that if Cyberpunk lands with the boom we think it's going to, then whatever CD Projekt Red does next, whether that's a new Witcher prequel, continuing, whatever it is, whatever major project they do next, I think they will hold that reputation where people will stop and say, hey, their next game is coming. It's going to be, this will be a game that stops the industry. Yeah,
I agree. And that's it. I'm fully expecting that. And like you said, from what we've seen so far, you've seen obviously more than any of us here on the panel, maybe outside of Tim, have seen. So I'm fully expecting Cyberpunk to come out and drop a fucking bomb on the industry for at least 12 to 15 months, because that game is going to have tons of content, and we still don't know the roadmap. There's going to be more content coming later on. They've already said that they're going to continue to support the game, obviously for the foreseeable future. So let's go ahead and throw this over to you, Fuzz. I want your opinion about just the fact that CD Projekt Red is this gigantic company, that they're doing so well. They've made one game the entire generation and have able to, transform themselves into this mega huge company. So what does that say for Cyberpunk going forward, and what do you expect from them as well?
Well, with Cyberpunk, I think it's going to have a little bit more mass appeal than what Witcher 3 has. So the sky's the limit as far as that's concerned. I mean, we've seen how well like Grand Theft Auto 4 did versus like Red Dead Redemption 1 and 2, and Grand Theft Auto 5, it's still printing money to this day. So they've come a long way in a shorter time than Rockstar. So I would say they are on the rise. As I won't say Rockstar's on the decline. I know they lost Leslie Benzies a few years back, and he's still got some legal issues against them as far as they haven't paid him. And then one of the brothers that founded Rockstar is leaving.
Dan Houser.
Yeah, so it's. Yeah. I'm curious on how long it's going to be before Grand Theft Auto 6 comes along, or what the state of it will be. But back to CD Projekt Red, when there were rumors of Microsoft looking at a developer in Poland, I was like, oh, that would be awesome. And considering now that it's like, oh, they're valued at $8 billion, I'm like, yeah, Microsoft has that kind of money, but I can't imagine.
Yeah, I can't imagine
that amount. I mean, yeah, they did it for Minecraft. Well, $2 billion for Minecraft.
And people were saying that was crazy, and I thought that was a slam dunk at the time. That was the easiest $2 billion they've ever spent. I guarantee.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
True.
But overall, I mean, I'm trying not to get too hyped for Cyberpunk. It's going unplayed. I'm going to say it'll probably be the game of my lifetime type of thing. But it's after so much disappointment with other games that I was really hyped for.
We're not doing it this week.
I'm not going to say it, but you know what game I'm talking about.
Say it. Come on. Say it, Fuzzy. I'll help you start it. And
come on. We got to get it in, man. Go ahead, Fuzz. Just get it out the way.
Yeah, like with Anthem, all that potential and everything. But I have much more confidence that Cyberpunk will be a good game, if not a great game, right off the bat. And the fact that they're going to do continued support, expansions, as well as an online component, man, that's going to be huge. So, yeah, kudos to them. I mean, now that's going to be another, I wouldn't say target, but for all the other devs that are out there, that's going to be who you want to focus on to either outdo or at least be in that same mentioning with them, and that's awesome for them.
So okay, cool. So I want to throw this over to you, Centurion. Get your opinion on this, man, before we wrap things up. Is he there? Oh,
all right, there I am.
There
I was on mute. My bad. I was going to say, for the uninformed in the Shop podcast, it is a goal to drag Anthem into every show possible.
Yeah, if you didn't know, we do this every week. It's an annual thing. It's kind of tradition.
Anyways, on to Rockstar Games. Are they the new Rockstar? I don't know. I'm waiting for Rockstar Games to open up a hotel and casino on the Vegas Strip and just stop making games altogether. We'll have some Grand Theft Auto slot machines, and they'll just have the whole Grand Theft Auto theme going on in the whole.
Yo, I book a trip tomorrow.
Hell yeah! Hell yeah! Hell yeah!
Oh my God! You definitely have some caricatures walking around harassing people. All right. Anyways, but can we say, like, I don't like looking at, because in my opinion, Rockstar Games only came out with one game this generation, and it was not Grand Theft Auto. It was Red Dead Redemption 2.
True.
Because Grand Theft Auto 5 came out last gen, became cross-platform, and then eventually grew into the giant online casino that we have now. But definitely, I will say that kudos to Rockstar to figuring out how to
you mean CD Projekt Red?
Well, no, I'm saying Rockstar Games in
okay.
general. That's why I'm saying kudos to them for figuring out how to take a game like that and turn it into what it is. But I have to agree with you guys that pretty soon it's going to be um, like, forgive me, how do you pronounce his name? Our guest, I feel like a fraud.
Ainsley?
Ainsley, there we go.
Yeah.
It's like what Ainsley said earlier. Pretty soon it's going to be when people hear those words CD Projekt Red, they're going to listen. You know, whenever E3 is around or any kind of gaming event, whenever certain developers are on stage and speaking, it's like the whole room goes silent and is just listening to what they have to say because they know the kind of quality that comes out of that studio. And CD Projekt Red is one of those studios that has definitely carved a niche for itself in the gaming industry. And you know, look at how they've diversified at the same time. They have a Witcher television show.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I really
That's
think
crazy,
that's
yeah.
awesome. It shows how people are now taking interest in the stories that these gaming developers create, but now they're wanting to hear these stories without having to play the game, and now you're getting television shows from it. CD Projekt Red is honestly going to probably go down as the developer for this generation.
We'll see. We'll see if Cyberpunk does what me and Ainsley and all of us sitting on this fucking panel think it's gonna do.
Oh, dude,
might.
I hope
They
so,
might.
man.
They
I
might.
hope so. I'm glad they delayed it for any kind of polishing that they could do, because not to be that guy to drag that name out once again, nobody wants to see another Anthem
Come on, man.
repeat.
It's twice, man.
Well, I know, I'd
once,
say right,
man. We only
but
do it
you don't
once.
wish that. You don't wish that on anybody. And with as much hype that is behind Cyberpunk, I don't want to see it trip at all.
Yeah, I don't either.
I think it'll be it's gonna be a huge.
Yeah, I don't think they're gonna allow it. They too much time, too much resources. They know what
Right.
they're doing. They got a formula. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. I don't think they're gonna drop the ball at all. It's exact. What they gave us an hour of gameplay, less than a year after the shit was even shown. Less than a year after we even heard of the game. Like, that's ridiculous. Like,
Yeah.
But that was like early concept.
but still,
it even
bro,
said
like,
that it wasn't going to be it could be nothing like that unfinished
but
product.
it looks nuts already. Is my point.
Oh no, yeah.
That's my point. It looks insane, bro. And that was just a super early. It may not even look anything like that right now. But man, if it's even a quarter of what we think it's gonna be, man, it's gonna be amazing. And would you guys agree that Cyberpunk is about a slam dunk as it can get outside of like Grand Theft Auto?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it's a slam dunk.
I don't foresee it unless
It's a
something
slam dunk.
catastrophic happens and they.
You don't see me wearing an Anthem shirt.
Oh,
Right?
stop. That's we're over the quota. We're over the Anthem quota for the week. No more Anthem for the rest of the month. We're over the Anthem quota.
But
We're going overboard. But go ahead.
Cyberpunk is probably going to be an awesome game. And it's also probably going to be one of the more unique games that come out this generation. Some of the stuff I've seen, the posters, how they're pushing the boundaries with sexuality and all sorts of stuff it's going to be a very unique game.
Yeah, it's going to be a bar setter. It's definitely going to set a bar in the industry. So I'm really excited about that. So, but this is going to wrap up the show, man. It's been a fucking amazing show. You guys have been amazing that are watching. Everybody in the chat, you guys have been awesome. It's been super active. Everybody here on the podcast as well, my entire panel, you guys are amazing. Once again, thank you guys for sharing this 150 episode with us, watching live. The link will be up on Twitter a little bit later, so just click that link if you're not catching it live. Tell your friends they can watch the show as well. But I will let everybody here on the panel let you guys know where they can find you. By the way, all that information will be in the description below. Go check out Ainsley. I put the website there. They got his Twitter there. Same thing with Tim. Everybody here on the panel. So you guys, please go do that for me. If you're a fan of the show, please go do that. You guys are amazing. So we'll start with you on this one, Tim. I just want to say a super big thank you for showing up today, being a huge part of the show's history. You're a very special individual to me personally because I know the confidence you gave me to actually do this. You one of the first people right off said, hey, man, do your podcasting. It's going to be great. You're good at it. You always push me. So as a personal thank you, I do appreciate you being here as well. And let everybody know what's going on with you, man.
Well, with that, I just want to say Thank you as well for taking my advice. I always just going back and forth with Twitter. I noticed some people, and you were one of the persons that I noticed because your answers were always precise, and you made a lot of sense. And doing the first show was a pleasure. Like I said, everyone go back and check that out. There's a big surprise there. I remember doing it, and you're honestly one of the best podcasters
Thank
going.
you, man. I appreciate it.
You keep a short, tight, precise, concise show, which I really appreciate. And if it wasn't on a Saturday, I remember you had asked me. Saturday is a night that I usually get my daughter, and Saturday's just not a good day for me. I would be here, but I'm gonna give you, give you if you ever need me, just keep asking me because tonight was a lot of fun. If I can make it, I'll definitely be here. Definitely be here for the 200th.
Oh yeah.
And aside from finding me, just everyone tell your friends, share the show, get people listening to this show, because TK Blam and the panel people here are really knowledgeable people, and it's a great show. I'm not just blowing smoke up your ass. I had a lot of fun tonight. I just like the style, hit it, get going, and then this, I've been on podcasts in the past where it's just there's no construction or structure. Here you got structure, and I always commend you. And you're like I said, you're a tremendous podcaster. The show is great. If you want to find me, I'll be Sunday night TXR with my buddy Centurion. We go on at 9 p.m. just Standard Time. I also go on RDX Tuesday night with Dealer and the crew, 8 p.m. on Tuesday Eastern Standard Time, and you all can find me at Twitter. Obviously, it's been shown, but it's xCloud TimDog. Really, from the bottom of my heart, thank you. Congratulations on your 150 show. May there be another 300 shows, maybe even more than that.
Absolutely, and I appreciate that, man. So, do you guys do me a huge favor? Go follow Tim. If you guys don't know who Tim is, you've probably been under a rock the last few years. He is a huge guy on Twitter, man, but a great friend personally of mine as well. So go follow him. The man is all over Twitter. You see his imprint. If you're in gaming, that's the place to be. So appreciate you once again taking some time out,
Thank
Tim.
you, man.
Not a problem at all, brother. And my next guest, this man once again, Ainsley. I appreciate you so much. We recently met, maybe probably less than a year ago or so, but you've always been accommodating. You've always, given me information. You've always been open to being on the show. Every time I've hit you up, you've always gotten back to me, so I greatly appreciate you. Man's doing wonderful things. Go check out the website. All of that information is in the description below, but I'll let you go ahead and speak for yourself. But go ahead, man.
Yeah. No, thanks. I really appreciate it. It wasn't that long ago that I started Season Gaming and kind of started to grow, and you're one of the first podcasts I think I guested it on.
Yeah.
More recently, been on several other shows, but I know we talked pretty early on. So I want to just thank you for that, and congrats again on 150. It's Tim kind of nailed it. You're here every week. You got good topics. Shout out to Fuzzy and Centurion as well. Just good people, good topics, good show. So congrats, and well deserved. As for me, like I said, I use my real name. I'm one of those idiots. I don't quite know why I do that, but so I'm out there. You can find me. Season Gaming is pretty much, you can find everything about what we do there, including our channel and articles and everything else. So, and our own podcast, of course, which we don't do live shows, but we publish typically every Monday and on audio and video. So if you're one of those that likes to listen to podcasts in the car or anything like that, that's what we're really good for. Other than that, just thanks again, guys. Really appreciate you having me on, and had a lot of fun.
Absolutely, man, and we appreciate you being here, taking the time out as well this weekend, spend a little bit of time with us, and thank you, man. Everybody there at Season Gaming, like I said, if you guys want a website for great information, somebody that's on top of their shit, you're not gonna find no fluff on the website. You're gonna find good information, good people talking about awesome things. Go check out SeasonGaming.com. This man takes a lot of time. You can see it on the website. You can see it in everything that he does, podcast, video, audio. So I really, really appreciate that. If you guys are a fan of the show here, go check out what he's doing. And once again, Ainsley, thank you for taking your time this weekend. So Let's go ahead and throw this over to my two compatriots here. We're gonna start with you, Centurion, man. Appreciate you. I know you're the newest member of the show, but you've added so much to the show, and we're gonna continue to build on this thing, man. But I appreciate you taking a little bit of time and being here for the 150th as well. But let everybody know what's going on with you, brother.
Oh no, man! Honor is really. Thank you for allowing me to be part of this, introducing me to great members of this community like Ainsley. Sorry about earlier. I'm horrible with names. I could see it on the screen, but I didn't want to mispronounce it. So
with a name like Ainsley, man, it's not the first or even thousandth time. Don't worry about it.
Now he's gonna charge me more because you mess up his name.
Right. Well, I hope you're getting kickback for all the cyberpunk endorsements we've been giving us. So, anyways, for all those interested, you guys can find me obviously right here Saturdays on the Shop Podcast. I also kick it with the amazing Tim Dog and the rest of the awesome guys on TXR Podcast on Sunday nights. And I'm also doing Saltiest Gaming with Saltiest Gamer on Thursday nights. And you can always find me on Twitter, YouTube, and Xbox Live at Centurion1307.
Nice. And before we get to you, Fuzz, shout out to Stag. Stag, you guys know Staggerilla's not here on the show as of right now or as of today. He will be here next week. He's just doing something with his family. So appreciate you, Stag. I know you're gonna listen to the show and laugh your ass off later, but I love you. I hate you at the same time. I'm just playing. But I really do appreciate Stag as well. He's not here, but he will be back next week, guys. Just taking a little bit of a break, doing other things with his family. So shout out to you, brother. And last but not least, man, Barry Ross. I don't know if you get the amalgamation of that name, Tim and Ainsley. That's Barry White and Bob Ross mixed in one. So that's exactly what Fuzz is to the gaming community. But either way, appreciate you, Fuzz. You've been on the show for a long time now. You might have been part of the show the last time Tim was on here, I think. Maybe not. I don't know. But either way, you've been an integral part of the show. We game a lot throughout the week. I probably play video games with you more than anybody else that I talk to on Twitter. But I appreciate you for the 150th, you being here, you adding so much to the show. I just want to say thank you as well. But let everybody know in the chat still what's going on with you, where they can find you.
Well, I want to thank you for allowing me to be a part of this and, giving me that tap on the shoulder to, break into podcasting and stuff. Also want to thank Tim for coming in and
anytime,
just sharing time and talking games with us. Same with Ainsley. Always great to talk games with you guys. Greatly appreciate you guys being here today. And man, Centurion, always fun talking with you as well. Shout out to Stag, and man, thanks to the audience here for listening and everything. But you guys can always find me on Twitter, usually retweeting or at least making a comment on a poll or a couple other comments out there. Or you can find me on Xbox Live at Fuzzy Space Belvedere. Most of the time playing either Forza or Division 2, and lately I've been going through like Game Pass to get those Game Pass rewards or get the the Microsoft rewards through their Game Pass quest. So awesome show as usual. Thanks for having us here, and man, thank you.
Not a problem, man. And last but not least, your boy PTK Blam, the host with the most, man. PTK Blam across the board. If you want to hit me up on Xbox Live as well as Twitter, once again, everybody's information that's here is in the description below. So check us all out. Give us all a follow. Most of us use Twitter as a hub. So if we got YouTube or Mix or whatever else we do, just follow us on Twitter. You'll be able to keep up with all of that. So I appreciate you guys from the bottom of my heart watching. I promise you this show is going to grow with you guys' help. So let everybody know that do not know about the podcast. Subscribe if you have not already subscribed. I definitely appreciate you guys' consistency and you guys being amazing and giving me energy to do this podcast every single week. So we got more things coming. More cool things. I'm going to switch up the show, add to the show, maybe some things I may remove, whatever the case may be, but it's going to get better going forward and with the help of you guys. So peace out. You guys enjoy the rest of your weekend. We'll be back same place, same time next week. Already got the guests locked in, and I will let you guys know who the guest will be on Monday. It's going to be a first-time guest, so it's going to be a special treat next week. But either way, appreciate you guys so much. We are out of here. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Peace out, everybody.
Later.
All right, so let's log off of this.